Welcome to the Daughter Arise channel. My name is Yvonne and this channel is all about bringing you content to do with childhood sexual abuse. On this channel I share things to do with my experience of going through this childhood trauma. I also share news and other content on the subject of childhood sexual abuse. So if this is the type of content you're looking for, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified of any new uploads. And if you do like the content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So today I'm coming to you with a news story that I came across on the BBC News website, and it is to do with actor John Alford, who has been jailed for sexual assaults on teens. I will leave a link to the news story in the description box below. Some of you may recognise and remember John Alford from the BBC show The Grange Hill. Grange Hill was a teenage drama about a school which ran for many years. I will put a picture of him in Grange Hill here. Also as well, he was in the 1990s series London Burning. I don't know how many of you will remember that program as well. Probably showing my age here a little bit, but the story is to do with him, so I'm going to share the story and just share some of my thoughts on it. So it says that John Alford has been sentenced to 8.5 years for sexually assaulting 2 teenage girls. The former London Burning and Grange Hill star bought a bottle of vodka for the 14 and 15-year-old girls who drank this at a friend's house in April 2022. The 54-year-old from Holloway, North London, stood trial at St Albans Crown Court under his real name, John Shannon. The jury found him guilty on 4 counts of sexual activity with the younger girl and of sexual assault and assault by penetration relating to the older teenager. Recorder Caroline Overton said the offences had caused significant and ongoing impact on the victims' lives. Prosecuting lawyer Chris White added John Shannon was fully aware of the girls' ages, yet he chose to exploit them, giving them alcohol and then committing sexual offences against them. John Alford had denied the offences, and when the verdicts were delivered in September, he put his head in his hands and shouted, "Wrong, I didn't do this." Both girls were at the house in April 9, 2022, when he arrived after drinking with the homeowner at a nearby pub. The man who owned the house was friends with Alford and was the father of a 3rd girl in the group. Alford bought about £250 worth of food, alcohol and cigarettes from a nearby petrol station in the early hours of that morning. According to the younger girl, Alford had sex with her in the garden of the house and in the toilet. She told police she asked him to stop 3 or 4 times, adding, "I told him to stop because I didn't want to have sex with an old man." The former actor sexually touched the older girl as she was half asleep on a living room sofa. Police then received a report from the 15-year-old's mother 2 days later. Alford told the police the girls were attempting to extort money from him and claimed he was a victim of a setup. He began to cry as he told the jurors, "I haven't done this. No DNA, I didn't touch them. I think science proves me not guilty." Alford had other previous convictions to do with supplying drugs back in the early 90s, but none were to do with sex offences. He told the jury he was blacklisted from acting roles, and at the sentencing, defence barrister Mohammed Bashir said the impact upon the girls has been great, but it is important to note that in that time Mr Shannon had not committed any further offences. The younger girl said in a statement read at court on Wednesday that she had been sexually assaulted and it affected her and her family in every way. In her impact statement, the older girl said, "The man destroyed my mental well-being." Well, 8.5 years is actually a very long sentence compared to some other sentences I've seen when it has come to those who sexually harm children, those who sexually offend against children. I think that this sentence is appropriate for what he has done. There are a couple of things I want to highlight in this story. It's one of the things that I shared with the kind of 4 predecessors for sexual abuse, which Professor Dr. Finkelhor talks about about lowering inhibitions, and alcohol being one of the ways that somebody who is sexually inclined, sexually attracted to children will try and lower their inhibitions. He's obviously, a danger to young girls, and he didn't have any problem with going and buying alcohol and plying them with alcohol and lowering their defenses and lowering his inhibitions to be able to do this. I think it's absolutely disgusting that he has done this to these young girls. Those who sexually harm or look to sexually harm children are always trying to look for opportunities. And another thing that is true in this case is that the victims who have been sexually abused are being abused by someone they know. And for a large proportion of cases when it comes to child sexual abuse, this is always the case. So the reason he got access to these girls is because the father is his friend. They went to the pub together and obviously had a relationship, a friendship, and he was able to access these two girls through the father, whose daughter he also knew as well. So that is definitely something that is true when it comes to a large majority of cases of child sexual abuse. It's always at the hands of somebody the child knows, loves or trusts. Another thing that always seems to come up in these cases when paedophiles or child sex offenders who have sexually harmed children are found guilty, they always deny it. As I've mentioned in other videos, it's very rare that I see those who sexually harm children, those who sexually abuse children, own up to what they have done. We now have him in a situation where he has gone through a criminal process, been arrested, been charged, a police investigation has happened, they've come up with the evidence, they've taken it to CPS, and they have decided whether or not that the police can proceed with charges. He's been charged and has been sentenced, but yet still he is saying he hasn't done anything wrong. I think he has to take a very good long look, and he'll have plenty of time to do that sitting in his cell, to think about his actions. He hasn't got himself into this position by chance. He has taken deliberate actions that, when measured against the law, have been assessed to be something that are serious offences against children. And the last thing I really want to say is my heart goes out to the victims of this crime that John Alford has done against them. Obviously for them, just reading a little bit of what they have shared in their impact statement that they shared with the court, it's obvious that this has had already long-term serious consequences for them, and I hope that they're able to get the support and help that they need to be able to deal with this. It may take a very long time, I'm sure there is going to be lots of feelings that come up for them as time goes on, and I hope that they do get the support and help they need. I find it very interesting that yet again we have another person associated with the BBC, obviously in his younger years, doing acting for BBC in Grange Hill, who has been sentenced for sexual offences against children. I have been kind of saying I'm going to do this video about how many offences I found where the BBC, those who have worked for the BBC in an acting capacity, DJs, presenters, have been sentenced for offences against children, and I am going to work on that video over the next couple of weeks. But I don't know if it's a coincidence or whatever, but again, it's just something I noticed from this story, that somebody else who's been an employee of the BBC has been found guilty of sexual offences against children. Anyway, I just wanted to share this story with you, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.